How is everybody today? It feels good to be back. Like we've been here, but it feels good to be back. You know? It feels good to have everyone here, and I know there are folks next door. I do want everyone who has small children to know that we are actively, diligently working very hard to get Kids Church back up in full swing, so that way we can all be together. The kids can worship and be together in the way that they prefer to. So I just want everybody to know that is not on the back of our mind. It's on the forefront of our mind. We are working for it. It's very important. And so I'm looking forward to that happening here in the next little bit as well. So I want to talk this morning about what the Lord's talking to me about, what he's just been saying to me over and over again. And a lot of times he speaks to me in song. It's just kind of my heart language. And so that song, The Blessing, when that first kind of came out, I just kept hearing that final part where, you know, she just declares, he is for you, he is for you, he is for you. And I was driving in the car, and it was just repeating over and over in my mind, and I'm just weeping because I think it was like this moment that I realized, I really don't believe this. I really don't. There are parts, there are chasms of my life that I don't believe that God is for me. And I just was like, God, I want that. I want to open that up. I want to just talk about that with you. I want to just see what you have to say about that. So I always have stories, so I want to tell you a fun little story. I had a bear for a little while. I did. It was a black bear. He lived at my house. Like last May, I think it was, the black bear of the Northwest side was like trolling through my backyard every Saturday that I slept in. So all of my neighbors, thank you, Caleb, all of my neighbors saw him and would take pictures of him in my backyard, and I was always sleeping in. It was never on the mornings that I would get up and like have coffee on the couch. It was always the days I was sleeping in. And so I would stand on the deck. I'm not making this up. And I would call out to him, bear, bear, and he never came. Never came. Kevin offered to put some bear food out there, i.e. my dog, and he still didn't come. So I don't know, I think it was like a month ago, maybe, Kevin and I were on a Zoom call with this couple that Kevin's gonna be doing their wedding out in Montana, and all of a sudden I see like flashlights in my front window, and my dog is barking, and all this stuff is going on, and Kevin's like, what is the deal? I'm like, I don't know, I'll go figure it out. So I go to the front door, and my neighbor's standing there like shining a flashlight in my face. He's like, there's a bear in your backyard. And he's like, here, take my flashlight, go look. Because he knows I'm smart enough to do this. So I did. Took his flashlight, went out to the backyard, and of course he had spooked him and he was gone. This bear was sitting in my backyard like Pooh Bear, like this. Sitting on his 350-pound tush, eating the bird brick that he had ripped out of my bird feeder, just looking at my backyard. And I was sitting 10 feet from him and never got to see him. So I started putting out little things to try to get him to come back, and he never did. And then he got hit by a car. But the point is, here's the point. If that bear knew I was for him, we would have been best friends. We would have been. He would have come over. He would have sat on the porch with me. We would have had sandwiches together if he knew I was for him. And I tried to tell Kevin that I think I could convince him that we're on good turf and that I'm not against him, but Kevin was talking to me a lot about instinct, something about he has some instinct to not trust me. And so why do I share that? Because I'm here to tell you this morning that I have thought my whole life that I had an instinct to not trust God, and that's not true. My default is to know that he's for me. That's the way I was created. I was created in his image, and I was created whole and complete and in right union and right fellowship with him. And somewhere along the line, I have developed other patterns or had other experiences that have caused myself to believe that he's not for me. But that's not who I am at my core. And so that's kind of part of what God's just been kind of talking to me about lately. He keeps saying to me, Jamie, it's so important that you understand this because it is positioning you everywhere you go. Because I'm walking into situations, and when I walk into them knowing fully that God is for me in that situation, and that he's my rear guard, that he goes before me, that he follows behind me, that my security, my trust, my wholeness, my completion, everything is in him, then when I'm in those situations, I'm not looking to get anything. I'm not watching to be offended. I'm not looking to either be made or be rejected. None of those things. There's no gap. I'm just in the moment. I'm just in the presence of the Lord, and I'm able to just be. And it's such a beautiful thing when I tap into those moments. And this is the part that God just keeps saying, Jamie, I want to just kind of talk to you about that. And I just started saying to him, so Lord, why is this in me? I mean, obviously I could look through my life. I'm sure we all can, right? We can look through our life, and I can pinpoint experiences that I've had with people that maybe represented God to me, that maybe disappointed me, rejected me, let me down. I had an expectation of them that they did not meet. Whatever the criteria is, I was looking to man to define God for me. And because I was looking for these things, to be honest with you, a lot of times whatever we're looking for, we can easily be met with. It's very easy to find it. You know, it's very easy to walk into a situation and expect to be rejected, and you can have 30 people accept you and maybe one person sort of be a little off toward you, and it will color everything because that was the expectation that I would walk in with. And I started just kind of thinking through those things and just asking the Lord, so what do I do? How do I shift this focus? How do I take your goodness, your faithfulness, your mercy, the fact that you are a perfect Father? How do I take these things and shift them to your truth instead of my understanding? And one of the things I was reading, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. Maybe Brian would help me. I just call him Francis. Francois. See, I call him Francis, Ed. I don't even know his name. It's Francois. So he says, in the incarnation, God deleted every definition of distance, every possible excuse humanity could have to feel separated or even neglected by God was removed on one day through sacrifice, one and for all. So why is that important? Well, it's important because I keep stuffing myself in this chasm that is no longer there. I keep saying there's still a gap between me and God. I keep saying that I'm forgetting that he's inviting me into something, and I'm like trying to sneak around the back to get into the party. And he's standing at the front door like going, man, I invited her. Why is she trying to like crawl around the back wall? Because I think if I can just sneak in the back, then nobody will notice that I don't really belong there. But the truth is I do, because he's inviting me in, and he called my name and he said, you are mine and we are here. And that gap and that chasm is no longer, it doesn't exist. It's not there anymore. He was so intentional. You know, we talk about that so much here at DCC, that Jesus came to reveal the Father. That's why he came to reveal the heart of the Father. He came to reveal what God's heart was for man. And it led to a point of death. So that way he could close that gap once and for all. So that way that veil that we all know about can be torn, that it's over. And this continuation that I get to walk in is the revelation and understanding of that. And I get to find myself in these situations to where I feel separated from him, and I feel his fire burning toward me, and a lot of times I want to turn away from it, and he's like, no, draw near, don't turn away. There's not a chasm, you don't have to run. So I want to talk about that a little bit today too. So obviously this is a familiar passage to us. I do like a lot lately reading from the Message. So if some of you are irritated by that, you'll be fine. I like it just because I'm someone who speaks in a lot simpler terms, and it just works a little better for me. So I just want to kind of read through these familiar passages. Take a second and just really listen to it, and listen to it from the heart of Jesus, revealing the heart of the Father, not as somebody who's trying to point out your sin, but somebody who's trying to restore you to themselves. And he says, this is how much God loved the world. He gave his son, his one and only son. And this is why, so that no one need be destroyed. By believing in him, anyone can have a whole and lasting life. God didn't go through the trouble. I don't know. I have to read here. I don't know when I need to turn, but God didn't go through the trouble of sending his son merely to point an accusing finger, or in some translations, it uses the word condemn, to condemn. He says, telling the world how bad it was. He came to help, to put the world right again. Anyone who trusts in him is acquitted. Anyone who refuses to trust in him has long since been under the death sentence without knowing it. And why? Because that person's failure to believe is one of a kind, Son of God when introduced to him. So I was reading through sections of this, and I was actually thinking of some of these words being applied to me. There was a time when Jamie did not trust in him. I didn't believe in him. I had a failure to believe, and I wanted to turn away. And there's still moments like that in my life now, to where the Lord will come and speak to me, and I want to turn away, and I don't want his light shining. It goes on in 19, and it says that this is the crisis we're in. God's light streamed into the world, but men and women everywhere ran for darkness. They went for darkness because they were not really interested in pleasing God. Everyone who makes a practice of doing evil, addicted to denial and illusion, hates God's light and won't enter near it, fearing a pain exposure. But anyone working and living in truth and reality welcomes God's light so that the work can be seen for the God work that it is. So I think about those things a lot. I remember Brian taught on this a little while ago, kind of talking about that all-consuming fire of God. And that when I'm in this place to where I'm enjoying my own darkness, that all-consuming fire of God as it draws near to me is painful, and I don't like it. And I want to run from it. But when I draw near to it, I realize that it's not painful, it's beautiful, it's holistic. It's the thing purifying and bring me into who I am. It's burning off the things that have the sort of crustaceans that have come on me. It's burning those things off and revealing who already is there. I think about that passage a lot in James where it talks about the mirror, that we look at ourselves in the mirror and we walk away and we forget. And it talks about that the reflection that we're looking at is that life, it's that liberty. We're looking in the mirror and we're seeing who God made us to be. And I walk away and I forget. And so that's why I'm supposed to look back again. I'm supposed to look at Jesus. I'm supposed to look at this life that he displayed for me. And I'm supposed to remember God's heart for me. And I'm supposed to remember that the Father has a heart toward me, that he's for me, that his gaze is always fixed on me. His attention is never divided. He sent his son. This move, this John 3:16, this whole thing was a loving movement. This was not something because he found you so grotesque, I'm going to do this thing so that way maybe I can be around you and tolerate you. This is because he would stop at nothing to close that chasm and say, come, be with me. Be together. This is what I made you for, is for us to be together, to be unified, to be one. There's a word that's used there when it talks about condemn, and I'm going to look at Brian to look for the head shake or not. It's krino. He's kind of given a loose thumbs up to me. So the word condemn there, when he's saying that he doesn't come to condemn, it's saying to properly to distinguish, that is decide mentally or judicially, by implication to try, condemn, punish, avenge, conclude, condemn, damn, decree, determine, esteem, judge, ordain, call into question, sentence. So he didn't come for that purpose, to judge, to condemn, to push away. That's kind of the way that I think about it, to punish, to damn us. He came to save us. And that word there is to heal, to preserve, to save, to do well, to be made whole. And I think I get stuck so much on this act that Jesus came And he did come to pay that price. There's no, I'm not trying to discount that. I'm not trying to say that sin is okay and we should just live our life. I'm not trying to say any of that. I'm trying to remind us of the heart of the Father, of the why. That's what I'm trying to remind us of, is the why. Why? Because he was for you, because he was positioned, he was bent toward you to the place that he would stop at nothing. He could not stand any gaps, any holes, anything like that. And why is that so important? It's so important because it completely reveals who I think I am. It completely reveals God's heart for me. It completely says, Jamie, those things that you're struggling with, I'm with you. I'm for you. Let's walk together. Let me invite you into what I'm doing. Let's walk together. He's got his hand out constantly to me and saying to me, come. And I keep trying to say, yeah, but let me cross the chasm between us. Let me go over this thing that is holding us apart. Let me get through this. And he's like, no, I already did that. Come be with me. Let's walk this out. I think a lot of us have walked out some difficult things over the last year. And some of that is probably like an obvious statement, right? Like, okay, hello, coronavirus. Protests, riots, heartache, cultural heartache. Like there's a lot of cultures, a lot of communities right now in our nation that are hurting, that are broken, that are desperate to be heard. And a lot of people are going through painstaking things. And you know, Kevin and I kind of even make a joke, like, Kevin, we went through a lot of difficult things last year too. And so I think a lot of us are kind of like, man, when does the break come? When does it end? When do I get to breathe? When do I get this momentum back that I feel like I got robbed of? I feel like I was doing well and things were progressing and stuff was going really good. And then all of a sudden I got the rug ripped off from beneath me. When is that going to get back? And now I have to start over. And it's like this train that like takes forever to get going. And I know some people are kind of feeling like, man, everything we went through these last few months has been great for me. Some people, this has been a really good like reset to kind of dive into new things and kind of experience new things. And we're meeting with all kinds of people. Caleb's kind of doing one of these. We're meeting with all kinds of people that are on both sides of the spectrum. But God is for us in both places. None of these things came as any surprise. And he's so in our midst. And the thing that he just keeps saying to me is, Jamie, I'm for you. I want to dig up those things that have been buried deep inside of you. I want to take this time. I mean, we've had this theme going for weeks about what are we doing with this time? To where our whole world is tipped upside down. And like I say, for some of us, for like Caleb, this is like a bright, amazing time in his life. For some of us, we're just confused and don't really know what it means or what to do or where to go. And there's lots of people trying to speak into that. And I don't know where I'm at. None of this is a surprise to our Father. But the message he's trying so hard to communicate to us is he's for us. He's with us. This was not a surprise. He wastes nothing. He gets you ready. He wastes nothing. There's not a moment in your life, there's not a devastation you've ever gone through that he hasn't taken and said, I'm going to turn this for your good. You are my child. This is for my glory. We are in this together. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. These are the words of Jesus. This is the heart of the Father. The heart of the Father is not to leave you abandoned. The heart of the Father is not to have disunity in the streets and hatred being proclaimed on every platform that we can possibly share it with. That's not the heart of God. It's not. The heart of God is to say, come, come, come. It's always an invitation. It's always about what he's doing. It's always about progressing forward and moving on to the things that God has for us, which are good and true. And God just keeps saying to me, where are these places, Jamie, that you are seeing clouds in your life? Where is this darkness? Because believe what I'm saying to you to be true. Believe it. Believe it. Stop questioning and believe it. Stand on it. It's not a matter of mustering up the strength to say, okay, maybe I can try. And God, what's my next step? Your step, my step is to say, yes, I believe. Yes, I believe. Does God have good things for me? Yes, I believe. Does he have dreams that are buried inside of me? Absolutely. Does he have a plan and a purpose for his body? 100%. 100%. There's no question. We question. We've been taught to question. So the only thing that I want to remember to do is take those questions before him. Say, what do you say about this? I'm questioning this. I don't understand this. And most of the time he's saying, that's because you're not seeing me. You're seeing this person, or you're seeing this experience, or you're seeing where you fell short. You're not seeing me, Jamie. Look in that mirror. Look in that mirror and see the image that I made you to be. Come on. And I'm like, yeah, and there's no but. It's just truth. It's just truth. It's just who he is. It's just how good he is. I've been listening to Brian and his friend Stu G did a podcast, and it's kind of walking through the Beatitudes, and I've been listening to it, and it very fondly brought my memory back to when we first planted DCC, and we went through that chapter in our Bible study, just verse by verse, and Kevin and I were kind of walking out some difficult things through planting, and just some relationships that had gotten kind of tipped upside down, and, things like that. And I remember it was the night that we were driving, and I think I've shared this here before, so forgive me if I'm boring you, but I remember it was the night that we were talking about God being the comforter, that God will comfort those who mourn. And I remember him just bringing up to me and just saying, Jamie, why can't you just say this thing you're going through is hard? And I'm like, well, what difference does that make? Why does it matter? Who cares? Yes. What does it make? Why is it important to name something? Like, yes, okay, fine, it was hard. And he just said to me, he's like, Jamie, if you never tell me that you're struggling, I can't be your comforter, because you don't need it. You don't need it. You're not saying that here's an area in my life that I need the Father to be good in, because I don't need that, because it's fine. That's my answer for everything. It's fine. It's fine. And I was actually meeting with my coach a couple weeks ago too, and one of the things I was just kind of telling him, like, man, some of this stuff, these decisions I've had to make and things like that, whether it be for work or whatever, I'm like, man, it's just, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time making them. And he's like, why don't you go ahead and just say this is hard? And I'm like, okay, anyway, so how can I make these things easier? And he's like, Jamie, just say it. Just say this has been a difficult time. He's like, this is the biggest struggle in our society right now, right? We're Americans. We're tough. We're, what's another? Yeah, resilient. We'll say that. We're, BA, whatever. Like we're Americans, right? This is like our attitude. This is what we're raised with. There's nothing we can't do, right? And so then we get hit on tough times and we're like, why is this affecting me? Because we're not like invincible. This is going to affect you. Be okay saying that you're grieving some things, that you've experienced loss. Grandmothers, grandfathers haven't been able to see their grandkids. That's a loss. That's days that you're not going to get back. It's okay to say that stinks. It's okay to say, God, this is hard. It's okay to say, Lord, I feel you a little distant right now. Because what he's going to do is he's going to answer back to show you that chasm that I feel isn't there. And he's going to remind me of that. But if I don't say the things, if I don't say it out loud, if I don't express that I'm struggling, if I don't express what's going on, if I don't express needing healing, then how will he show me the invitation and what's going on? It's the same thing with our communities all over the nation that are hurting. Like if we can't express, if we can't talk to each other through some of these things, we will always stand with this gap between us. And that's why I love what Lisa shared this morning. The heart of the Father is about unity. It's about coming together. It's about walking. It's about living life that is full of so much that other people want to be a part of. I didn't come into this life. I'll tell you a little bit of my story. Honestly, like I fell in love with the Lord because of Kevin. And not because I was falling in love with Kevin, because at the time we didn't see each other like that. We were really good friends. And he was showing me an expression of the Lord in an outward way that I had never seen the Father before in my whole life. It was new. It was fresh to me for some reason. The Holy Spirit was just so in it, and he was just living it. And I was so intrigued by it. I was like, wow, look at this person who walks in freedom and confidence and just loves people. And I was so drawn to that. And that's the body of Christ. That's us. That's what we're walking out. The thing is, I'm not walking that out on my everyday because I don't believe it. And so those are the things that I want so hard to understand and know the heart of the Father. That's why so many people were so drawn to Jesus. He knew the heart of the Father. They longed for it. They craved it. It was part of their makeup. It's part of who you are, is to long for that union and that relationship. But over the years, we've allowed like these barnacles to kind of develop. And as he draws near, those things get to just burn away, and we get to just experience his heart. And that's the sort of thing that just kind of like, it just flows out to everything around us. And I think it's so beautiful, and I think it's so important. And I believe that the invitation that God's giving to me today is to say, Jamie, these places that you're feeling shaky, these things that you're struggling with, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it so I can tell you I'm for you. Let me tell you that I'm with you. Let me tell you that I haven't left you. Let me tell you that there's a better way. Let me tell you that we can do this together. We can walk together. We can live together. We can enjoy one another. Let me tell you my heart for you. Let's dream together. Let's think about what's ahead. Let's think about where we're going. Let's look into the eyes of love and allow the Father to show us what that means, as opposed to ourselves who have been trying to define it for so many years. So I had this really funny analogy. I wish my friend Mandy, who sometimes does my hair but hasn't for a while, until tomorrow, she has this magazine that's on her magazine rack, and every time that I'm there, I look at it because it bugs me. Because it's a bowl of chili, and there's like 2 chips on it. And it's so annoying to me, because who only has 2 chips with chili? Like, why would you even eat chili if you didn't have a plate of chips and cheese with it? And so I was thinking to myself, why is this a thing? Because like growing up, my mom didn't make me chips and cheese with chili. She just said, here's chili. And she even put beans and stuff in it. It's weird. So then I got married to Kevin, and we had chili, and he's like, we need chips and cheese. How are you going to eat the chili? And I'm like, with a spoon. And he's like, no, honey, let me show you a better way. So we made this glorious plate of chips and cheese, and we used those chips to eat the chili. It was amazing. So now I'm looking at this picture of this catalog with the chili on the front, and there's 2 chips. You can't eat that whole bowl with 2 chips. I know you can't. So we got to show people there's a better way. We have to. We have to show people there's a better way to participate in the life of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit than what we've been shown. Because I've been shown some garbage. And I've been shown that I'm on the outside and I got to work my way in. And I've been shown that the Father's kind of interested in me, but maybe not really. But maybe if I get to this point, if I perform so much, or if I do so much, or if I, have all these accolades, and I'm going to get to heaven one day, and I'm going to say, here's my rap sheet. And he's going to be like, 3 points, 6 points, -2. This is this. And the Father's like, no, throw all that away. You're with me. Let's be together. Let's just take these chips and let's eat the whole bowl of chili, and it will be amazing, and you'll experience life in a new way, and we can take people in and say, come to my house for chili, because you never had chili like this in your whole life, because really you just want the chips, but it's fine. So I don't know. I hope this was encouraging to you this morning. I don't know where folks are at. I do want to, I'll close in prayer as the team comes back up, and I do want to just kind of like even just read this last scripture in Psalm, just because I think it's so beautiful. The words of David to me are always some of my favorite things, just because David to me expressed so much of his humanity. He was so willing to just be a human and be sloppy and be messy, and to be so excited about being with the Father that he would dance, in his underwear around the thing, and in other places he's killing people and acting a fool. And yeah, he's the one who God says, this is a man after my own heart. And I look at that and I'm like, I can do that. I can do that. Because what did David do? He just said yes. He just said yes. He said it over and over. And he cried out to the Father when he was struggling. He cried out, and he said he went face to face when he was in the midst of his trials. And he was always, always after the heart of God, and after just believing what he knew to be true, which was that God was good, and he was loving, and he was true. And that was the thing that David just believed so deeply. And he says in Psalm 27, 13 and 14, He says, and I want us to breathe this in and to believe it, no matter where we're at today, no matter what loss we've experienced, whether it's momentum, whether it's grief, whether we're on the top of our mountain for the first time ever, or whether we feel like we got pushed back to the bottom and now we've got to climb back up. I want us to believe this because I believe it to be true today. David said, I'm sure now that we'll see the goodness of God in the exuberant earth. Stay with God. Take heart. Don't quit. I say it again, stay with God, because he's for you.